Hello, beautiful people. Guess who decided to drop by this afternoon? It's afternoon here where I am right now. I don't know what time it is where you are, but here we are with Thomas Markle Jr. Where are you right now, Tom?
Where am I? I,
hmm
I am in Rosarito, Mexico.
With your dad? Is your dad doing well?
No, I don't live with my dad. Sorry. He lives right up the street from me. He's very close. He's doing very well.
Oh, Sam is here. Sam is here. Yay.
Oh,
Hi. Hey, bro.
turn your camera on, Vonnie. I
Um,
mean
no,
Samantha.
my hair's sticking up and I'm not dressed. That would just scare everybody. Can't do that.
Okay.
You're very pretty, Sam, so you have nothing to worry about that. But no, I mean, I don't know if Sam told you, we just came from an epic thing because I gotta tell you, I don't know if I should feel admiration or shock about this Karl Larsen guy that I know you're acquainted with. He was this whole thing. It's so surreal. It must be surreal for you guys to be living something like this, Tom and Sam. I mean, Samantha went and exposed this guy online, confronted him, and he's dying by the sword that he's your father's best friend.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why me and Samantha contacted you or decided to do the show right now so we could set the record straight on Karl Larsen. Did anybody join in yet? Is there people who?
Yes, a bunch of people joining. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, good, because this is important. Okay,
Yeah.
Today, boys and girls, is story time with Thomas Markle Jr. Okay. My first experience with Karl Larsen was in Grants Pass, Oregon. That's the first time I met him, and I found out who he was and what he's made of. Okay, he tried to set me up in my driveway when I came home from work, and I told him politely, they did it really creepy too, because they pulled up slow as I was getting out of my car, and the girl in the front seat, some attractive blonde girl reporter or whatever, I asked them, do you guys need help? Are you lost? And she says, oh no. And then I heard her accent right away. And then all of a sudden Karl gets out of the car and he goes to the back seat of the car, of the SUV. They were in like a Suburban or something, a tan Suburban. And I hope Karl's listening, okay? Because this is who you are as a person. He came around the car after I told them politely, make an appointment like everybody else. I just got home from work. I want to go take a shower and relax. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you. But no, he persisted. He got his camera, came around the back of the car and handed me a book sideways. I'm like, what is this? And then it says Royal Weddings on it. And I knew immediately he was setting me up. And I told him, I said, listen, I told you politely, no photographs, no comments, make an appointment like everybody else. And he persisted on trying to raise his camera and take my picture. And I told him straight out to his face, Karl, if you take my picture, I'm going to kick your ass right here in the street right now. And this guy is so brain dead, he just doesn't get the picture. And I had to tell him 3 times to where, it was getting serious, and I was actually going to give him a good ass whooping because he deserves one. So anyway, they got in their car and they left. So then I looked into to find out who Karl Larsen was, and he's famous for getting in people's faces, antagonizing them, and getting them to hit him so he can file a claim against them.
Oh, wow.
That's who Karl Larsen is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Not to mention, okay, Karl, I swear to God, I hope you're listening, because you are not my dad. You are not my dad's best friend at all. Okay, you did 3 shows with him, which he hated, by the way. I'm his son, and I know what he says. He hates him, and he doesn't like you. Okay? You're not his best friend. You did 3 shows. Your show is not on hold. Dad canceled the show because every time you come down, you try and use him, manipulate him, and trying to get something out of him. You even told him, like during the Queen's funeral, oh, here, put this coat on. I got you this, and or I want to bring you a coat and we can watch the funeral together. That's disgusting. That's morbid. I mean, it's all for your financial gain, okay? And after Dad, unfortunately, got his restraining order from that stupid ordeal with Tom Bauer's book, he got a restraining order against him from Jeff Rayner. Karl Karl suggested that we take photographs outside of a gun shop. I mean, who does that? You know, and he goes, oh, it'd be great. You'll get like $5,000 or $10,000 for the picture. Without any regards to my reputation, my father's reputation, or anything, only for sole greedy purposes, this Karl Larsen, okay? And I mean, after the incident in Oregon, I've never liked him. And my dad will attest to the fact of that. And there's some other very, very disturbing, nasty things that this man has done. After my father had a stroke, he tried desperately to find out where we were. And it was a secret, which hospital, what room, everything. Nobody knew. And that's the way it was supposed to be. Karl repeatedly texted me hundreds of times, which I already have saved and filed just for you, Karl. Okay. Trying to find out which room we're in. And then he has the balls to use Megan as bait. Tells me to answer any 310 phone call because Megan's trying to call my dad. First of all, Karl, Megan knows my dad's phone number. Okay, so you little fucking worm can just go away and use somebody else's name and leave my father alone. Okay, because you're going to get a restraining order against you. I have a lot more to say, but I'll let somebody else talk.
Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, what?
We were discussing earlier too how Karl tried to get into Dad's house after.
Yeah. So Armando, excuse me, Vonnie, or Armando, my dad's serviceman for 8 years down here, texts me and says, I've got this guy Karl here. He wants to get into your daddy's house. He wants to get something off the table in there. While my dad's in the hospital, while I'm in the hospital with my dad. You know, and I said, absolutely under no circumstances, Armando, do you let this man anywhere near my dad's house. And if he gives you any more problems, give me a call and I'll have some of my friends come escort him and give him an incredible experience in Mexico. You're gonna Karl Larsen, the new star, Karl Larsen, the new star of the Donkey Show in Tijuana. Because that's how it's gonna be, pal.
That's terrible. But I mean, Sam and Tom, why do you think, I mean, either this guy lacks any, you know, because I was listening to him today, Sam, when we did the thing with Popcorn Palace, and the way this guy goes and even said, oh, I don't want to say anything nasty because I want to go back into Andy's Popcorn Palace channel. And Andy's, I mean, I was thinking, does this guy like any moral? Because I would be ashamed. I was feeling secondhand embarrassment at that point. But you would think that he lacks any moral. I don't know what to tell you.
It's not just that. I mean, well, I am a counselor and by degree, and I can say if you listen to him in that interview, what really struck me as odd is that he kept talking about my dad and saying he's his best friend, lying and saying that he offered to give him shelter during the hurricane, lying about so many things. And then when somebody would rebut that, he would say, stop bringing up Thomas Markle. Well, people are bringing up my dad because he was lying about my dad, yet he's not contextually aware. Similarly, for him to repeatedly be told by us and by my dad to leave him alone. Tom's got a lot of text messages from my dad, you know, and to be able to show that my dad wanted nothing to do with him. For him to ignore that and still try to say in front of the world that he's his best friend after all has been said and done shows that there's a disconnect from reality. I would say that, yes, in my opinion, it is stalkerish. Yes, in my opinion, he is in denial. And at a minimal, he needs counseling. I don't think it's just what paparazzi do and it's his MO. I just don't think he wants to admit that my dad wants nothing to do with him because he doesn't want to deal with rejection. Hey, get over it.
Yeah, and let me interrupt you real quick. And the latest text from about three days ago, after all this broke about how me and Dad are going to be handing out tea and biscuits to tour people down here in Mexico. Okay, let me set that straight. Not going to happen. Okay, Karl actually texted my dad and he says, "Oh wait, but I'm so close to having Megan talk to you." I saw that text and I wanted to get in my car and go track him down in Los Angeles, because that is messing with my dad's health and his well-being. And he keeps using Megan as a pawn to manipulate my dad like something's going to happen. Like I said, my dad has the same phone number for 15 years, hasn't changed. And Megan has the number. And if she wants to call my dad, she can. Okay. Karl is by no way any spokesperson or medium or conduit for any communication between me, my father, Samantha, and Megan, or anything. It just, my father never agreed to anything with a tour. I mean, how cheesy is that? I may as well go join the circus, and hand out, popcorn and cotton candy, and have people throw things at me. I don't need to be humiliated on some Hollywood tour. And it's just amazing. He's kind of like that movie, The Cable Guy, where Jim Carrey, he's playing with Matthew Broderick. Yeah, Karl Larsen, Cable Guy 2. I'm your best friend. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Well, the other thing too is that he knows that I'm on the phone with you pretty much every day and Dad every day. And he was sitting there saying, and then he was just repeating what I said. Yes, Samantha's a good daughter. She talks to her dad regularly. Karl doesn't know excuse my French, a fucking thing about our family communications. But he speaks common sense things like, yeah, you're someone's daughter and son are going to be speaking to him regularly. So he puts that stuff out there like he's a big shot and he has some inside knowledge. Totally fake. He doesn't. But it's really weird. He like tries to put himself in front of us as some kind of, know-it-all spokesperson when he's got nothing to do with Dad. And you're there with Dad all the time. I think that's psychotic. I really think there's something wrong. And I think, Tom, you need to get a restraining order. He's been publicly warned. And Andy, they kept saying, Karl, you're being told to leave Thomas alone and leave the Markles alone. And Karl just kept, there were like crickets. They said, are you going to respect that? Are you going to respect that? And then he would try and throw out a red herring and change the subject. He has been publicly told if he keeps doing it, that's stalking and harassment, period.
Yes, 100%. I mean,
yeah, but he also said, but well, I'm not gonna. If Mr. Markle sends me a text message, I'm not gonna not respond. So maybe you should show your father these things so he understands that even just being a polite answer, because I can assume your father, I've seen your father in lives and stuff, and he comes across as a very kind man, very kind man who's had 2 heart attacks, a stroke. He should be enjoying his latter years of life instead of having to deal with the likes of Weasley people like Karl Larsen. And this is, I can see from the, what, I was shocked, Samantha, you kept saying, I mean, this is incredible. Tom, you're going to see that video because Samantha's going to send it to you. See, he kept going on about, I am his best friend, as his best friend. And I mean, Samantha kept going on about, no, you're not. And then he goes, we quit the show because he had a stroke and that's why we stopped. And I'm like, no, it's incredible.
Yeah, like that movie Chucky. I'm your very best friend.
No, it's like, well, Tom, you can tell everybody here. You're hearing it right out of my brother's mouth, who's with my dad every day. Karl is not my dad's best friend. Karl is not my dad's friend. Karl has had predatory interactions with both my dad and Tom. That does not qualify him as a friend.
Yeah, Karl is at this point, he is just writing the Markle name and telling the entire world that he's Dad's best friend, and he's our communication between Megan and, which is complete horseshit. I'm sorry, but that is the farthest from the truth. And Karl, you've been told cease and desist, get a life, move on to your next victim. All right. Find somebody else to, exploit and use for your tours. I mean, maybe you can give a tour to, the sewage plants in LA or something, that's more up your alley.
Yeah, Dad's a really nice guy. He probably hasn't looked for the block option in his phone settings. So any calls or texts, however old they are from Karl, you got all the text messages or anything to show the patterns. But just make sure you go and put block this caller on Dad's phone so he can't even send a message, even if it's ignored, just so he can't get through.
Yeah, because it's insane how this guy simply was just in complete denial, Tom. It was shocking. I don't know if you were shocked, Samantha. I know you've seen some crazies because of people. I don't know, but I haven't been. Well, yeah, I have, but even the people that I've caught lying, at least when they were caught, they they had nothing to say. But this guy, it was like talking to a wall, Tom. It's like, no, he's my best friend. No, that he did this. I had the text messages, right, Sam? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was challenging and ignoring everything I was saying and running on his own fantasy. And I do think there's a component to fantasy with it, whether it's for self promotion or if it has to do with his own denial. But it's kind of sick. And, I hope something is done about it, because I don't know that it's safe for dad. I don't think Karl is safe getting anywhere near dad, based on, everything that's transpired and his refusal to accept that dad wants nothing to do with him. That is a dangerous uh, mind state. So, and it's not cute. It's not cool because he's paparazzi. It doesn't matter if he's paparazzi. Paparazzis can still have mental issues and they can still be dangerous. If you tell someone to leave you alone and they don't, you have a problem. That is a psychological problem, because they're not respecting you. They're seeing that you don't feel safe or you don't like them, and they're persisting anyway. That's dangerous.
yeah,
Also,
I was wondering. I was going to ask you, Tom. You were there with your dad. Is there? I mean, clearly, this man has no intention of leaving your father alone. That's the perception I got, that he has no intention of leaving your father alone, because he kept insisting that he's going to go ahead and do the tour. He's publishing the thing that he says that he has your dad's blessing, and that thing that you were going to be giving teas. So either this man, whether he's delusional or not, clearly he's a bit of a danger, because I mean, he could cause your father even more health related issues,
yeah,
and
absolutely. I mean,
even you.
that's what everybody needs to. Everybody needs to have the big picture here in this. Okay, Dad has been through quite a bit for the last few years. I mean, it's no secret; it's worldwide news. And he doesn't need any more emotional bullshit. He doesn't need any more emotional trauma with some stalker holding Megan over him like a pawn, and telling him lies about it, and exploiting our name for his own financial gain. And that's all this is. I mean, that's why he continues to rant and rave and go on whatever show he can and profess that he's like our dear family friend.
Well, when
You
we
know?
called him on it, he said he never used dad's name in his promos. So Andy showed him one where it basically says that he's the go-between, which is another word for representative, between Megan's camp and ours. And so the problem with that is this guy who is predatory and a stalker, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, because he's been asked to stop and won't. The problem is that he's triggering other people in public and inciting violence against dad, because he's acting like he's in line with our family, doing something outlandish and doing tours and doing, and like I said to him, do whatever you want. I don't care if you take a bus full of a nudist colony through Hollywood and Montecito, just don't attach our name to it. In other words, you're not connected to us. Ta-ta. Right?
But what can you do? What can you do to stop him? Because clearly, from the perception I got, and I don't know about you, Sam, and I'm not being exaggerated, I'm not being sensationalist or anything like that, but when somebody's in such high denial of reality, he really, I believe that he feels entitled to come near your father, to keep talking to your father. There is something there's a huge disconnect from reality, which is incredibly unhealthy. It's incredibly dangerous. And I wonder if he feels that way, because for so many years, you guys were trashed around, by everybody, by the entire world. So maybe he still doesn't understand that things have changed, that he can't do that anymore. But in either way, he is clearly, I would be worried. I think he's clearly dangerous.
Yeah, I thought it was weird too that he thought he was going to take his tour participants or tour bus or tour luxury car, whatever he wants to call it, to Rosarito. First of all,
he has an infinity luxury van, Sam. Don't you remember
but I
that?
think if he really tries, he could probably get 10 people in there.
Well, but wait, no, you're not going to take anybody to my dad's house. It's a secure community with security guards. So good luck with that. You'll be at the border sucking your thumb. So I feel sorry for anybody who who gets on that tour and thinks they're going to go into Rosarito and meet and greet my dad. You know, and like Tom said, it'll be it'll be the Karl Donkey show.
Live from Tijuana.
But I mean, what can you guys do? I mean, can you guys go alert the authorities in Mexico? Because I think Mexico would take it seriously. I mean, if you go to the police or something like that, because you guys are your father's based in Mexico, right? So the U.S. authorities have no say over that. But for example, he tried to implicate this Armando guy. I don't know who he is, Sam. Remember, he kept talking about this Armando man.
Yeah, Armando is my he's worked for my father for probably 8 years, doing maintenance on the house and repairs as needed. Yeah, when I heard that, that was like another shock to my system when I'm standing in the hospital room with my father, and I'm dealing with Karl on the phone, and then Armando's calling me, saying that Karl's down there trying to get into my dad's house. I was just, what?
Well, your dad is at the hospital.
Well, yeah, it was myself and my father and a friend of my father's, all in the hospital witnessing this, which was just mind-boggling.
Yeah, so I can't get to Mexico, certainly not in enough time. Thank God I called my dad. God bless him that he was able to talk to me not talk to me, but communicate while he was on the phone and slurring, because he couldn't talk, and because he was like making weird sounds. I knew what was going on. I knew he was having a stroke. So I started to panic. I got on my other phone. I called Tom. I said, oh my God, Dad's having a stroke. Call Armando, call Armando, call Armando. It's all I could think. I was like, I didn't know what to do, but Tom was able to get a hold of Armando pretty fast. And Karl was nowhere around, like I said, unless he was lurking in the bushes. He is not my dad's friend. Armando is more of a friend. And, you know, Armando made it very clear that Karl was trying to con him into letting him into the house after he went to the hospital with a stroke. So that's pretty sick.
Did Armando think that he had permission to get in? Did he lie to Armando, probably telling him that he had permission to get in?
No, Armando looks out for my dad as well, and there's no way that there's no way that Armando would have let him in anyway, even if he didn't get a hold of me. There's no way. But that's yeah, it's so disturbing knowing what's in this man's head. I mean, to do that while somebody's suffering from a stroke in the hospital and you're trying to get into his house for material or something you can use for a story or financial gain is very, very sick and disturbing. I mean, that's just out there. And
Tom. And then because he needed a red herring to deflect from the fact that he was busted, he kept saying, oh, I love Samantha. No, I've never met Karl.
You've never even met him.
He doesn't know me. He knows nothing about me. He doesn't spend enough time with Dad to know anything about us. So, I mean, I just thought it was really weird that he's out there trying to present himself as some expert and some insider when clearly he's not.
It is actually quite disturbing in the sense of, Samantha, because he tried to deflect by saying, if you hadn't written that book, basically trying to say this is all your fault.
Well, that has nothing to do with it in any way. Clearly he didn't read my book. Anyone who's read my book knows it's not about my sister. So he was just grasping for straws. That was a red herring to change the subject and take the heat off himself, because he was backed into a corner. He's a liar and he knows it, and he was called on it by several people. And there are receipts out there to prove it. So, I mean, first he said he never mentioned my dad's name about his tour, and he showed his own promotion and website mentioning my dad's name and that he's a go-between in between Megan and our family. So he lied. He's busted and he doesn't like it, but he needs counseling to work all of that out.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping that everybody who is watching this video will take this and share it with everybody, and it'll flood the market.
Oh, yeah, we will. Don't you worry. It will. But I wanted to tell you that for me, I am mostly I don't even, there's no words for this guy, because it's like he kept plowing away. Tom, you'll see the live. He kept plowing away. Like,
Yeah.
I kept calling him a weasel, that he was lying, that he was this. And he was basically trying to, he even threatened to write a book, because actually in the promotional thing that he wrote, that Andy from Popcorn Palace exposed, he said that he was the only one. Remember
Yeah.
that, Sam? Who knew everything, and stuff
Well,
like that.
yeah,
And
that's crazy, because my brother and I are the only ones who know everything. And thank God my brother is there with my dad every day. And did you notice Karl totally avoided mentioning my brother's name, because he knows my brother is there with my dad, and my brother will put him in his place.
Yes, and unfortunately for me, I have saved every text message from Karl Larsen for what, almost 2 years now. So I even invented new swear words for him when I was texting him back, because he just doesn't get it. I can tell him a million times, Karl, F off, go away, you're not welcome, and he just keeps on and keeps on and keeps on. He has it's like he has a lobotomy for learning. He cannot understand what's being told to him, and he's been told repeatedly, hundreds of times. And like I said, good for me. I'm glad I saved every single text, filed them. The manipulation, using Megan as a pawn, it's just,
But that's really weird. That's tweaked. That is like a crazed, rejected lover who keeps coming back and saying, "Oh, but I know you love me. I know you do. You're just mad right now. You're just, it's the same sort of psychosis. It's called being in denial, because some people can't handle rejection. But when you're not family and you're not a lover and you're somebody who has been told to stay away and you don't, you are a stalker. You are someone who has no business attaching to, whoever you're stalking, certainly our family. And yeah, you need a restraining order against him, Tom. This is crazy. And the problem is he's triggering other people, because there are psychopaths that might believe him. There are, and and honestly,
yeah,
whatever, it doesn't matter what Megan's status is right now. She should do something about it, because he's also putting this tour in her face and acting as a mediator, mentioning Megan's name, pretending he's a go-between.
yeah.
So if
Bonnie, you and I both know Megan won't do a goddamn thing about anything but herself.
well,
So
what I'm saying is he's causing her problems and triggering people to get pissed off about her, because he's suggesting some false alignment with her, as if he somehow has a connection with her, which implicates her in his stalking.
yeah, because he talked about that he talked to Bozy about the remember, Sam, that he talked to this guy Bozy that was featured in the Netflix mockumentary. So and he says that he's talking to the guy, but then given how much this man lies, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. The only thing that you have to be careful of is that if this guy is such a stalkery presence in your life, and he's not and he doesn't understand. I mean, if after this and Popcorn Palace, where you guys are telling him off not to come close, he still goes after you guys, you have very good grounds to denounce him, because the issue, like Samantha said, that there are crazy people out there who followed everything that your sister says, that this man says, and believe the link between in this man, and whatever it is that he says. Some people are sick and want to believe whatever it is what they want to believe. And so your safety and your father's safety is the stake, for reals. I mean, I'm not joking here, because he's inciting certain type of behavior against you guys with this.
Yeah, I mean, I saw people out there who are actually aggressively reacting to the idea, because it's what they thought, because it's the way Karl framed it. They believed that my father was involved in somehow profiting from it, that he was a friend, and they were getting mad at him when he had no association whatsoever. So for Karl to engage in fraudulent misrepresentation in a way that incites violence against anybody, especially our family, is a problem. And I believe that there's legal repercussion for that. I mean, clearly there is an issue. And when we confront him live, face to face, Tom, I guarantee he'll lock horns with you in some fantasy la la land denial If you go face to face with
Oh,
him,
I would love to lock horns with Karl Larsen.
yeah, I would love to see that. Somebody should bring that on.
But
Hey, Karl.
another
Hey,
thing that
Karl.
was disturbing was the
Karl.
Newsweek thing. Was the Newsweek thing? Remember, Samantha?
Hey,
That
Karl. Let's have a boxing match, Karl.
Elon
No,
Musk and
don't do that.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
No, but there was also that because Andy confronted him because apparently there was a Newsweek article. Remember, Sam?
Yeah.
That he said that he had talked to your father after, and he had offered his home for the thing, and that basically your father had said, "Oh, thank you, I'm not coming right now. If I had managed to survive." I mean, and he was asked point blank, "Were you the one who leaked this information, Mr. Markle? Did he give you this?" And he just went quiet. Remember that, Sam?
Right. It was crickets because he knew he was busted. And Tom, I think you can set the record straight that Karl wasn't offering Dad shelter during the hurricane. He
No,
boarded up with
absolutely not. I mean, let me put something out. Karl ran this idea by me even on my phone. He texted me about, Tom, I've got this amazing, great idea. Let's do a royal tour to Montecito. I've got all the text messages, and he has 0 replies from me at all. I never even answered him because it was the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. And this was about a little over 2 months ago, I believe, almost 3 months maybe. And my dad got the same messages too. And my dad laughed about it. Is this man insane? I mean, yeah, we're gonna sponsor a tour to go harass my sister in Montecito. Unbelievable. He never got a reply. I'm just really surprised that these outlets that took this news, like it was the Mirror first who put this out. Usually if you're a halfway decent journalist or a news outlet organization, you would want to fact check your things before you put them out there for the world to read, because that article went to 20 immediate places immediately. It was all over the internet.
It makes you wonder if there was a motive behind it. Like, I wondered if maybe he was trying to get Megan to get a restraining order against Dad because she would think that he was involved in something like that, a tour to his house. And I said, clearly, Dad would never do anything like that. So was this a ploy to incite violence against Dad and generate a bunch of fake news stories that my dad was somehow involved in something that he had nothing to do with? I wondered, but no, really, I think it was just a machination of Karl's mind because he needed something to align with to get people to want to go on his tour.
Yeah, this is a ploy just to bring attention to Karl Larsen, the almighty know everything about the Markles.
Yeah, because it's actually what he said in the when he was advertising the tour, that he was the only one knew everything and he had the real info.
No.
And I mean, it's actually, you may think that this is too much, but if I were you, I would change all the locks in your home, get an alarm system installed.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I'm friends with all the guards here. Every single.
Yeah, but at a minimum,
I have a small army of friends here. You can just
Tom, for legal purposes too, block his number on your dad's. Like, why would that even be open? Make sure it's blocked.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I'm going to probably seek a protective order on this in California for Karl, and I'll deal with my own protective orders here for him.
Well, yeah, we've got live video as evidence that he was told to stop and wouldn't, and in denial, he keeps insisting he's Dad's friend. So I think there's enough there to justify a restraining order.
Yeah, and also keep up for articles. If after today you're still seeing articles out there like Newsweek, because this was in Newsweek and all these semi quasi serious outlets, or at least the less trashy ones, but they go worldwide because nowadays people don't read print. They put an article on the internet and this is worldwide with a click. So if you see any articles, I think you have very good grounds to say.
Just to also be clear, when this came out, 3 days ago, it's been 3 days, I immediately started texting Karl, who do you think you are? What right do you have to use our name for your own financial gain? Reed, there is no way that anybody agreed to this at all. My father definitely didn't. And after, texting back and forth with this man, he says, okay, fine, I'll take it down. I'll take it down. I'll take it off the tour thing, which he still hasn't. he even made it very clear on Dan Wooten. Oh no, I'm still going to do the tour. It's like,
yeah, he kept trying to squeeze that in today
yeah,
too. Popcorn Planet. He kept, when everyone trashed him and called him on his lies, he goes, "Oh, and check out my site on Instagram. It's blah 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 blah." I mean, he kept trying to plug himself. God.
Yeah, actually he kept going. And it's so funny because Andy and Steph, we were on a live doing with Kinsey Schofield, Andy, Steph, and I think Megan's Mole. And they were joking. They were like, we should do the privacy tour like South Park, get in a cab and go with a privacy tour. But it was a joke. Second, it was nothing like this guy is saying. They were just joking. It was a joke. But this guy, and they never said, oh, this is happening, and we were all laughing about it because it was actually in regards to South Park and we want privacy, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And the guy's been funny, but people clearly have lost sense of humor. So, and then suddenly it's become this thing that Andy was DMing Bozy. It is absolutely insane. And the fact that this guy repeats those lies and doesn't back down, it's even during the live. And Samantha, you will see the live, Tom. He did not back down. He kept insisting that he was your father's best friend, that he had those text messages that, he was told it was okay, that he was going to resume doing YouTube live with your father once his health got better. I mean,
yeah. So do you remember the story I told in the beginning about, how I met Karl Larsen in Oregon, in Grants Pass, Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So later that evening, I had a little payback, and even Karl knows this. I don't even know if he knows this to this day, but this is like exclusive information. Okay. Because Karl got so scared that night because I had a little payback for what he did to me in my driveway. And I called the hotel and got his room, and I told him on the phone, Karl, I'm a man with a particular set of skills. So what does Karl do?
Take it.
This is great. I see, I'm in the parking lot watching, right? I see Karl peek out the blinds of the hotel and look over the little wall out the window, right? And then close them, right? Then he comes running out of the room on his phone, standing in the parking lot, looking around, right? And the other girl comes out of the next room over, and they're standing there. Then they both go back inside, pack their bags, and leave. So this is Karl's nature. So Karl probably makes up a big fabricated story about how Tom Markle assaulted him and did all this and threatened him. And because I got a call from his lawyers or whatever the next day from whatever news outlet that he was working for, threatening me that they were going to sue me or whatever because I assaulted Karl Larsen, which is a complete crock of shit. This is this man's nature. Okay. This is what he's made of. Okay. So Karl, you can take that to the bank, but I have a big file on you, pal. You're getting a restraining order. And if you don't cease and desist, there's going to be really big problems for you. Okay. You have no right to use my name, my father's name, my family's name, or anything at all ever again. Leave my father alone. And I've told you, I've made it very clear in some very descriptive, I even made up my own swear words for you in my texts. Leave my father alone.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay?
Tom, after everything you said, I guarantee Karl will still be confused and say that he's Dad's best friend. So, Tom, I'm going to ask you, because you're there every day with Dad, even though we're on the phone every day. I'm not there, but you are. Is Karl Tom's or Dad's best friend?
Absolutely not. Like I said before, I can't sum it up better than like Cable Guy or Chucky the Doll.
Okay, Tom,
Yeah.
I have another question. Is Karl Larsen Dad's friend at all?
Not anymore. Dad told me the other day that he admitted that he's been a little gullible because Dad's a very good-natured man and he likes to befriend everybody and he gives everybody the benefit of the doubt. He gives the shirt off his back. Everywhere we go, every single day, he tips and he's charitable. He gives people money in need all the time. Dad likes everybody. And Karl takes advantage of that for his own financial gain. And I've been telling Dad for 2 years now, don't have anything to do with Karl. He's bad news. He's using you. He's a scumbag paparazzi. He needs to be. Karl, go home and watch the movie Paparazzi.
Yeah,
okay?
but after dad told Karl, that he didn't want anything to do with him, he didn't want to do the show. When was the last time that dad had a substantial conversation with Karl? So that, Karl clearly is in denial. But I remember, when dad told him he didn't want to do the show, it wasn't that the show got canceled. Karl, looked like, a hurt lover. And I heard that it was, pretty hard for Karl to handle. And the relationship just sort of soured from there. So,
Carl even wanted dad to go on after a stroke when dad's speech was still really, really bad. Karl persisted. Karl just kept on persisting. And I had to intervene. I'm like, Karl, F off. Leave my father alone. My dad doesn't want to do any more shows with you. Don't you understand that?
Well, he wanted to, Karl wanted to exploit him after the stroke.
Yeah, that's sick. That's mentally ill. I'm a really nice person, right? And I like everybody. But this is a man that I do not like because of his true nature. It's greed. He's just out for himself. Any way to make a buck and put his name out there so he can, be somebody. Well, he's a nobody. Okay.
So Karl hasn't been coming over to the house and hanging out.
No. Karl won't come down here ever again. I guarantee that.
No, but I mean, in general, you've been there. Karl's not allowed to come hang out at the house.
Karl, he got dad to finally meet him for lunch. It was probably about 6 months ago, or maybe over 6 months ago, I think. And dad didn't want to do it, but dad breaks down and listens to Karl's sob story and how he manipulates and just. He just wants to come down and have it, but every time Karl comes down, he wants to take pictures. He wants something every single time. And my dad gets so pissed every single time he deals with Karl. Karl, do you understand that my father hates you? He does not like you. Leave him alone. Okay. Take your circus show somewhere else and get a life and leave my father alone. You've been warned.
I'll ask you a question because maybe this is why your father still answers to him sometimes. Is it possible because Meghan Markle has said that she doesn't want to talk to you nor Samantha, and she doesn't probably want to send because she said publicly, at least we know from the files in the UK court case, that she didn't want to write to your father directly because she was afraid he would publish stuff. Do you think? And we've seen that this guy was actually taking up close pictures of Meghan Markle. Do you think that that's how he tricked your father into that?
No, Paula, I'm going to say that's a PR stunt because her lawyers know how to get a hold of my dad. Her lawyers know.
He knows how to get a hold of dad.
So if they wanted to get a hold of him directly, she couldn't use the excuse that she didn't want to call because she didn't want it to end up in the papers. There are legal protective channels if she wanted to get a hold of him. So everything else out there is PR bullshit.
I wanted to ask these questions because a lot of people ask that. And, I always say, I wanted them to hear why. And I've always answered that if she really wanted to get in touch with him, she wouldn't be using sleazy lawyers or sleazy paps or stuff like that, unless she wants to set your father up for something else, know? Or she knows that your father's nature is good and he'll believe anything because he wants to really talk to her, Yeah,
and for anybody out there thinking that they can manipulate my dad, don't even try it because my brother's there and you'll land flat on your ass.
So also, there was a bunch of speculation cruising around the internet about a month ago about Meghan's PR team, her new PR team, pushing her in the direction to making amends with the family and dad. Mostly dad.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so to set that straight, Meghan's had 5 years to do that. Okay, just because her image is really taking a dive right now because everybody figured out what she's really about, which is nice, and we're all a nice normal family like any other family in the world. Meghan's had every opportunity to make amends with my father, and I believe at this point it would only be for her to up her image and make her look better. And the thing about that is nobody would believe it, including my father.
Yeah, so you don't do that when you burned every bridge in the world and as your last hope to try and put yourself in a favorable public light. Not flying. Doesn't.
Yeah, but you have to be careful I'm serious because clearly your father is vulnerable. He's had 2 heart attacks and a stroke. He
Yeah.
is a very good natured man. He's elderly. That doesn't mean he's senile, but he's elderly. He has some emotional trauma given everything he's lived in the past years through ill health. And I think that people like Karl Larsen, clearly this guy's fixated. That's the only word. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
He's
it falls into the category of elder abuse at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you know what, and I know this sounds horrible. Maybe you need to do like a 1 minute video for your father, because I know what people will say, because I've heard this before. Well, if Mr. Markle didn't want anything to do with him, why doesn't he say it? Because he's an adult, and you can't do things for an adult. So maybe your father could write up in a statement, just a written statement, asking Karl Larsen to stay away from him. Even doesn't have to do a video, just issue a written statement that we will all be happy to publish.
Yeah.
So it's out in the public domain that your father is publicly stating he wants Karl Larsen to stay away and not to use his name ever again. And we will publish it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. His friend Carolyn Graham, she's the Mail on Sunday. She put out something the day before yesterday pertaining just to that. And I was witness to that conversation where Dad told her, I don't want anything to do with Karl. I never condone any of this. And that's a valid statement. I was witness to that, like I said. But like I said, Dad's really camera shy because, he had a stroke. His speech is incredible now, but he gets tired, and he still may feel a little bit uncomfortable about it. But I can definitely probably get
do
him
a
to
written,
do
a
a statement or
written
do a
statement
small,
with a
do a
signature, a
small
written
video.
statement with a signature.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
release that in the news outlets. We will put it here.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You have to redact his signatures so it can't be used for identity theft, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see
We
Dad.
won't post the signature. We won't post the signature,
Yeah.
but we will have the thing there. That's what I mean. We can blur the signature, and or not post the signature, just a statement, and indicate that it is a signed document. You know what I mean? So that, because I mean, this guy is going to say, well, that's how Thomas and Sam feel, but I haven't heard that from Mr. Markle, because given what I saw from
like
this,
I said, Carolyn Graham is a very dear friend of my father's. She was actually with us during his stroke, and she stayed in the room every single day until we were discharged. Carolyn Graham was a very good friend of my father.
Carolyn was the first.
Very tight.
Yeah.
And if she put it on the Mail on Sunday, which she's worked for over 30 years, she's a very, very qualified journalist, and she's not going to put on anything that's false.
Yeah.
100%.
And I mean, I have a subscriber here who says, I think Taylor, she says the attorney should do that. You should have like a proper lawyer issue like a legal statement, and also take that to the police, because what I saw today was a man first who's clearly not in touch with reality, who denies be even faced with the lies, Tom, because you will see that video. I mean, Andy went and basically it's like showing him the things he's put out there, and he's like, nope. And Mr. Markle is my best friend. We're resuming the thing. I mean, and even Samantha, even I was calling him out, and Samantha saying, you're full of S, and he was just it's completely gaslighting. So this man is unhealthy mentally. He's clearly a weasel. He has absolutely no boundaries. That's one of the things I noticed. He has no boundaries. He's fixated on your father. He's only thinking of himself. To me, he has all the indications of being a very dangerous person, especially to somebody like your father, whose health is not at the best right now.
Yeah, the last time he came down here, like I said, about 6 months ago, my father didn't know this, but their meeting at the restaurant, I followed him, and I was in the parking lot just to make sure that he didn't show up with cameras and try and manipulate my father, because I was waiting for him. Because I look out for my dad. Nobody's going to get close to him. Nobody's going to, I don't trust Karl Larsen anywhere. And, I'm just glad I save all these texts. What he put my dad, the information and the texting war I had with him, like you were saying, Paula, he doesn't understand when you're talking to him. He doesn't understand. He doesn't even read what you tell him at all. It's like he's oblivious. I mean,
Well,
all he wanted to do was find out what hospital, what floor, what room we're on, all for his own financial gain, so he could rush over and be there to take a picture. That's
really,
all he wanted.
Tom, it's really weird. You got to listen to that interview. After everything I called him on his lying and his shit. I said, you're delusional. You're in denial. You need mental health counseling. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And someone was saying, well, so you're saying that Samantha's not telling the truth. You're calling Samantha a liar. And he goes, I love Samantha.
Yeah,
what?
They've never met.
I guess that's how I said I lost it. I really lost it. I mean, I actually had to get off the chat because I wanted to remain somehow ladylike, because a lot of things were coming to my mouth, and I wasn't in my channel. In my channel, I can say whatever I want, but I didn't want to.
Hey, Carl, do yourself a favor and go knock on Samantha's door.
Yeah, Karl, stop loving people you've never met. I mean, seriously, it's deranged, it's I just don't get it. There's a disconnect from reality there. So that being said, I think there's enough to show just grounds for a restraining order.
Seriously. No, I'm serious.
This video needs to go. Yeah, this video needs to go viral so everybody gets.
We'll transfer.
Clear
Tomorrow
message.
I'm doing a live. Tom, tomorrow I'm doing a live with Popcorn Palace as well, because he has huge audience. Next Thursday we're recording with Sean Otwood, but I'm going to ask him to promote this on all their platforms. But I think this is a message that you should get in all the platforms because actually it's so funny. I said to Andy in Popcorn Palace, because the day before today, Samantha, or 2 days ago, I did a little video with about this topic. And I said to Andy, if Mr. Markle needed to have, Mr. Markle has 2 kids who are eloquent enough to speak on his behalf. He doesn't need Karl Larsen. He has 2 grown-up kids who could speak on his behalf if need be. That's exactly what I said in that video, because I am shocked. I really thought that this guy was going to recant once he was faced with all of us yelling at him, "You're a liar," and with the thing, but he didn't. It was so frustrating. I was so angry because it's so frustrating. He just kept going at it, Tom. I just wanted to punch him. I don't know. You were such a lady, Samantha.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know. That's why he has a fitting job as a paparazzi, because that's in his nature, just to not listen, focus on the target, focus on the money shot. That's all Karl that's all he cares about.
Well, and like you said, he is notorious for provoking someone into getting to the point of hitting him so he can get the money shot. That's entrapment, that's baiting, and I think that's illegal in some way.
Yeah, he's done it to me so many times. He gets me just so irritated because he doesn't listen to anything when you respond to his text. Like go away. And it's like, and then he texts back, he goes, "Why are you mad at me?" It's like, dude, what is your problem? I mean, it's just incredible. It blows me away how dense. And I mean, he does it on purpose because that's his nature.
But do you think that he believes that if he gaslights you enough, he'll convince you of his lies? Because that's what he did today, Tom.
Or he'll find something, or he'll get you to the point where he'll find something incriminating or piss me off enough to where I say something to him or I threaten him or something like that. It's just ridiculous. This is what he does.
Either that or he doesn't gaslight just to provoke an angry reactive response. It seems like with that and with others that he also gaslights to break you down, to feel sorry for him, to want to say, "Oh, okay, I'm," there it's twofold. So I think he certainly tried that with Dad, because Dad has a soft heart.
I wouldn't feel sorry for him even after like 2 weeks of him being the star of the Donkey Show. I still wouldn't feel sorry for him.
I gotta tell you something, Sam. And in the live today, it was like he was even condescending towards you when we were calling him out. He was like, "I love you, Samantha." Like, in spite of what you're saying, and it's like his attitude was, "I know you're lying." That's his attitude that came out across. "I know you're lying. I'm best friends with Tom, your father." And then but even I still love you, even if you're a liar.
He was saying "I love you" as if to falsely suggest to the public that he knows and is interactive with our family. He doesn't love me. He doesn't know me at all. We haven't met. But he was just doing that to put a cherry on the sundae to make it seem like he had a right to be condescending as if he was a family friend. No, he's not a family friend.
Best friend, not a family friend. Best friend.
Not
Yeah,
a friend.
like I said, the 3 shows that he got talked into doing made my dad so uncomfortable, and every show got worse. They did 3 shows over a year and a half ago or something like that. And Karl, your show is not on hold until Dad gets better. So that's another lie that you put out there. Dad canceled that show and doesn't want anything to do with it whatsoever, because you make him feel so uncomfortable because you're always trying to weasel your way and get more and get more and get more. And Dad doesn't benefit from the show. You're the only one who was benefiting from that. So Dad canceled that a long ass time ago. You're not in waiting for Dad to get better and recover from his stroke to resume your show, because it's been over for over a year. So that's another lie that you put out there that needs to be dealt with.
It's terrible that he has some credibility still, because Newsweek printed that article where he's quoting, saying direct quotes, and he's actually stood his ground. He said that, it's incredible that Newsweek would lend itself to keep printing stuff from this
Absolutely.
guy, where he claims he's quoting your father directly, that he was coming to him and that he had offered to come over. I mean, and he kept quiet when Andy asked him about it. But it's incredible, Tom and Samantha, that these news outlets are still printing this kind of thing, because it does create a response. It creates, already there's a hostile environment in some quarters, towards you guys. So it only fosters or stokes the fires. And because they're saying, oh, he's alive with this guy, he's best friend with this guy. They want to press Meghan Markle.
Yeah, but you're preaching to the choir about fake news. I mean, there are people in the public that without any evidence whatsoever will believe and react to something like that. And whether it's that, people go to these outlets with fake information because they have their own agenda, and then the outlets erroneously print it because it gives them clickbait as well. The bottom line is it's fake news. And when you've got family members coming out rebutting it, saying, none of that is true. It's sort of like they're not going to all run retractions. Karl was like dead silence, crickets, when he was confronted with that. But still, they're running the articles. They just want stuff out there to raise the hackles of the people, because on television and in radio, it increases their quarter-hour share ratings. In magazines online, they get more clicks to the articles, and then they can diffuse responsibility. They can say, well, we didn't get it, and sources said, and it came from so and so. So everybody gets their money, but nobody wants to be accountable.
Yeah.
There's absolutely zero journalistic integrity. They just want to be the first. They don't want to be right. And Samantha knows this. Samantha knows that I am what I've been through, kind of, and I know the pitfalls of false information, especially nowadays in a medium where it really, with one click out there, your worldwide article, whether it's true or not, and then printing a retraction, it's like, no, it's your truth, and that's his truth, even if it's faced with evidence that he's lying. And for me, I was really shocked, because he tried to talk over you, Samantha, quite a few times, because he didn't want you to talk and call it BS out, and it is something. I mean, I am, Sam, that I'm more than happy, and we all YouTubers that support you, we're going to ban, and we have quite a lot of audience. My channel has over 55 million views and counting, and I have very good friends. I can send this to Kinsey Schofield. I will have, if you want that, because Kinsey Schofield is in Talk TV, and also with, she can do maybe a profile, because she's very, very good. She's very credible. She's very fair. Because I don't see Newsweek contacting you guys to say, hey, we're about to print this out. Is this true?
Right.
Yeah, you would think that there'd be somebody reaching out, but like you said it yourself, there's no values in journalism anymore. People just want the first story, and they're willing to take the hit if they get in trouble over
Well,
printing false news.
I have to say something. I mean, I'm going to call it like it is on that. I have heard through the grapevine that Newsweek, uh, I don't know if they currently are, but at one point were under the hub of my sister's paid PR reportedly.
There still are. Jack
So,
Royston is still
okay,
doing it.
right.
Yeah.
So if somebody's left skewed or they're paid by somebody's PR company, you have to look at the credibility of those articles, and that the fact that not only are they being paid to shape social perception in a certain way, but then what credibility does that article have if somebody's taking payola for it? So I mean,
Yeah.
well, and Newsweek, back in the day, people thought Newsweek was like, well, it must be true because it was in Newsweek. Newsweek today, in my opinion, is no different than a bottom dwelling tabloid. They have slumped so low, like you said, they don't even contact sources for a rebuttal. They just print whatever they hear because they know it'll raise the hackles of the people. So take it for what it's worth.
Let me say something about Newsweek real quick. Right before this tour bus idea surfaced, right? I think it was the same day. I had a email, okay, from Jack Royston, Newsweek, on my phone with Karl's name on it also, and they were reaching out. Maybe they thought that it would, because we have the same name. I'm Junior, and maybe he thought it was my dad's email, but the email said, "Hey Thomas, just reaching out. We're just checking up to see how your speech. I hear you're getting better, and just want to know. We want to do a story about you getting better, and would like to know if you want to, say a few words on it or anything." And nothing to do with the tour bus, but Karl's name, Jack Royston's name, and Newsweek all together. So these people are obviously in cahoots together,
So
probably even involved with Megan.
So
And they went on to say they're going to run the story anyway, which didn't mention the tour.
Well, what they wanted to do was get a blurb from Dad to make it look like what Karl said had validity because Dad was part of the story. Well, Dad would not be part of the story. So
I didn't answer the email because they were fishing, obviously. It's like when a journalist calls you and they want to do a story, and they say, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you $2,000 here. Just do the story, and we'll get this out for you." And you go through the story, and then they come back and they say, "Oh no, they didn't run it." But then you see your story. A source says they're all dirt. I don't trust any journalist anymore.
The other thing too is that if you don't reply to them, they'll take blurbs from a live interview that you've done and elaborate and fill in the blanks and make up their own spin on it and say sources said, or sometimes I remember we spoke with Samantha and she said, and I'm like, I never spoke with you all the way in Poland, or I never spoke with you in New York City. But if it's in quotes anyway, it doesn't mean it's true. Like, because they know you can't sue everybody. Most of their publishing houses and their media attorneys have deep pockets. They know it. So yeah, good luck trying to track them all down and sue them. And they know it, so they do what they want.
Yeah, this is like a disturbing ploy to, when you have Newsweek, you have the Mirror, you have Karl Larsen mentioning Meghan Markle. I mean, it's a no-brainer that they're all working together just to keep themselves active, and you doing it at Dad's expense and the Markle family's expense.
I don't know if you can see, I have this article from Jack Royston on the 22nd of August where he says how Meghan Markle's father is recovering from stroke. And then they show this video of Karl Larsen and your dad. And then he goes, Meghan Markle's father told a friend that there's nothing I'm afraid of after surviving a stroke last year, right? And then he says that Karl Larsen, a photographer who set up a YouTube channel, Remarkable Friendship, with the 79-year-old, told Newsweek that Thomas' health has improved in the months since the stroke. I invited Thomas to come and stay at my house during the hurricane we had here in California, but he said he's going to write it out, Larsen said. He said, after a stroke, there's nothing I'm afraid of. That's literally what he said to me. He did get his voice back, but he doesn't want to be part of the limelight right now.
Oh my God. So Karl's taking it upon himself to not only talk about my dad's recovery, but to speak for my dad and saying, he wants to write it out. He doesn't want to be part of the limelight. In other words, Newsweek is printing Karl's hallucinations and assumptions that he has no business putting out there. He's not a voice for my father, but it's really kind of psychotic and unethical and cheesy that Newsweek would do something like that, knowing that it didn't come from the source. It's not from my dad, and that they'll just believe Karl saying I'm his best friend.
It is actually quite terrible. Are you moving, Tom? It's actually quite terrible, but I'm going to send you the link of those articles so you can have them, because this is directly Jack Royston, who is Meghan Markle's advocate, publishing in Newsweek on the 22nd of August.
Mark,
I can't hear you, Tom.
my phone's dying. Come here. Yeah, he's probably trying to plug his phone in. It looked like he was talking for a minute, but there was no sound.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
there.
Can you hear us? I can't hear you. But this is something that you should contact Newsweek. You should write it.
Sorry, I had to. Oh shit.
That's okay.
Sorry, I had to jump off because Dad just called. By the way.
Okay, no. If you need to go, we can finish it.
I
clarified everything.
I told him what was happening, and Karl did another show today, and Samantha and I are trying to set it straight. That's what we're doing on your lovely show here, Paula.
Samantha knows, and I hope you know now, that this will always be a door for you to always speak your mind whenever you want. And also, you have a YouTube channel, which I will post the link to, because we have to go and support Tom. I watch all the videos.
My channel is based on taking life's lemons that they give you and you turn them into humor. That's what my channel's all about. So.
No, but we should support you, because that's something that's very important. But so if there's anything else you'd like to clarify, guys, I mean, I've had you for more than an hour, which is I'm very thankful for this. But most of all, I'm actually quite concerned, because I'll send you the links, Tom, of all the articles that this guy has put, especially with Newsweek. This was the 22nd. This is less than 3 days ago. And he's basically acting, anybody who reads that article, because I also posted a video of your father doing the on the top, the channel with him, to give it credibility. They don't say that he's finished it, that he wants nothing to do with it. So it's basically implied that the friendship continues, and your father is clearly backing him up.
So like I said, Dad just called while we were doing this live show, and I was telling him what I was doing, because he called once and I ignored the call, and then he called again. So I always take his calls no matter what.
Yes, of course.
And I told him what was happening. I said, yeah, Karl did another show today. He's all like, what? And I said, yeah, so Samantha and I are trying to deal with it right now. And he goes, okay, yeah, just let me know. He's very upset about it.
Please put him at ease. Please. Yeah. He should probably know about this, because that upsets him. Just put him at ease. Tell him that we don't believe any bull. I'm sorry, I'm going to swear. We don't believe any bull fucking shit that asshole has to say. He's clearly a lunatic, a liar, but you do need to take legal steps now and whenever you are ready, if you want to show a letter that we can prescribe whatever, we will share the hell out of it. Tomorrow
what I was thinking was maybe I'll do a little video when I see him later on today, and maybe we can join in all of us together on Popcorn Planet tomorrow and then shoot that video out there.
Yeah,
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link for tomorrow's live, and then to Samantha as well. And whatever you feel comfortable. This is not to be sensitive. I don't care about anything. I just want people to get what you guys are about, that this is absolute BS, because I know the feeling of your name being vilified for years. Yeah. And it's not a pleasant one. It's not a pleasant one.
We've had to endure death threats from the Sussex Squad, the bad press nightmare from every paid PR news article that she put out. Or they put out. Whoever put them out got paid to do it. Spreading lies, calling us horrible names, trailer trash, alcoholic, drug addicts, convicts,
rednecks,
criminals, for years.
Even called you rednecks. Remember, Sam? We did that live, and the behavior panel called you guys rednecks.
Yeah, redneck trailer trash.
And
you
what was
know?
funny about that, you know, like again, I'm not working, but I'm a degreed mental health counselor. It's so unethical. I don't know any practitioner who would ever resort to, you know, if someone has a condition, a physical condition like MS, you would never mock them about it and judge that. You would never, someone who's had a stroke, you would never judge that. You certainly wouldn't call them belittling names like redneck, not knowing anything about them and never having spoken with them. It's unethical. It's just, yeah, I don't think they're credible at all. So I called them on that.
Yeah, I mean, and for, you know, for someone to walk around claiming to be a humanitarian and a charitable person and a kindness and a kind that, someone who doesn't call their dad for their heart attacks and their strokes and has
Hurricane.
for anything at all, or a hurricane to check out, or her sister in a wheelchair. Is there anything I can do for you to make your life easier? You know, Tom, hey, you've been down there with dad for, you know, over a year now, every single day looking out for him. Is there anything that you need that would make things easier for you? No. The answer
So,
is no.
so Tom,
So
dad was right. You know, what he said about our family is that we're strong. And even when we have disagreements or whatever, we come back together. And, you know, PR was out there saying, well, she hasn't called her dad because of this. It was
no.
because of that. It was because of the fake stage photos. You know what, when you're an adult, you don't use excuses like that. You deal with the person directly and in a loving way. And you say, I'm really sorry. And you say, oh, I really screwed up. I'm sorry. And you come back together. So
I know.
using PR as a bogus excuse to avoid being a decent, loving, compassionate human being capable of peaceful resolution is just plain shitty. There's no excuse for it after the age of 12. You're not an adolescent, you're an adult. Let's deal in the adult world. So after 5 years have gone by, there is no excuse. There will be no photo opportunities or exploiting it to get back in a favorable public light. Period. End of paragraph.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tomorrow we'll do the live, and if your father is up for it, please do not push him or anything. Tell him that everything's fine, that the entire world is calling out this
Yeah.
person weasel. But that
I won't bring him. I won't bring him in live, but I'll record something for you.
okay, that's absolutely fine. You know, just send it to me and we'll post it during the live. You know, just show it with you, whatever you want to do. This is your home. You know that, Sam, ¿verdad, Sam? Sam has been practicing Spanish, está practicando español. And
Gracias.
how's your Spanish, Tom?
Yeah.
How's your Spanish, Tom?
Por favor, what?
Oh, Tom, I got to work with you. You got to get that dual.
My Spanish is so good that if I ask a woman out, she goes out and starts washing my car. That's how good my Spanish is.
Well, Sam speaks good Spanish. Her accent is very good. I've told her this. So yes. So tomorrow we'll definitely get together. We'll have a much bigger audience. And this I will send this live to a bunch of all of us to put it out there. So I have over 80,000 followers on TikTok. So I'm also going to post this there. You know, and we're, you know what, we'll get this sorted out somehow. I have a feeling things are going to change a little bit. It's great that we're calling people out. You didn't, for so many years, you were trashed, not believed, and garbage like this weasel were able to trash your name because you were not believed. So I am so happy that you're standing up for everything, for your father, for yourselves, and we're more than happy to come here anytime. I don't care.
You know what? We're gonna part, but I think what would be really cool to point out, and Tom, you remember this. What sucks about the media that they have the sick ability to do with false bold font headlines is to take and pit family members against one another. Because a lot of times we were like, you said this, no, you said this, no, I didn't. Well, this article said you did, and it gets family members mad at each other about something that was never real. So, you know, and a lot of, if we didn't take the time to clarify that, we wouldn't have known.
Yeah, it's just like the letter I wrote in the very beginning. Okay,
I did that letter. I love your letter. I've actually featured that letter many times.
Everything on the letter is true. It came true, right? So call me the great Karnak or whatever. But the thing about that letter, if you got just one more minute, I'll tell you another little quick story time.
Go for it. Yeah.
Another story time here with Thomas Marco Jr. Okay. that letter came from the heart because of everything that our family was going through in the press and all the smear campaign that was against us. All of a sudden, it's like, I have to stand up for myself. So I had somebody, I was tired of being harassed by paparazzi everywhere, every day, wherever I went. I got chased. I got blocked in. I had to lose people in the hills. It was just so overwhelming. And I said, this is not my problem. Megan should be doing something about this, right? Nothing at all. So I had a friend of mine who's a lawyer reach out, and he got a hold of the spokesperson for the palace for them, which her name was Naomi Watts. And finally we got a response back, and Megan says, that's distant family, and I don't know those people.
Wow.
And that right there floored me, because I said, Megan and I were fine growing up. We had a lot of fun
Excuse me,
together.
let me park this here. You were distant family?
Distant family, and she doesn't know us people. Okay, we've been spread out our whole lives because we all have individual lives, but we always came together for birthdays, holidays, and everything like that, all growing up.
Well, Tom, most families do in America, unlike in your
everywhere, Sam.
Most people after you're 18, you have to move out and get jobs or go to college. So that takes people across the country. Our family is no different than most family, unless they're couch potatoes. So I don't think saying, oh, you were off working, or you were in another state, or you were in college, or you had kids, makes you any less a family member. And most people, they get together holidays, they talk on the phone, and thank God for technology. Every family I know, they bridge the distance by getting together by phone or email, and we did that too. But for the public to be out there saying, well, you didn't see your sister in X amount of years. You know what? I saw my brother a lot less than I saw my sister.
Yeah,
my brother and I would never say we're not brother and sister. So what's up with that? But that's the nature of having to work and go to school and having lives.
Samantha and Megan spent way more time together than I did with her, because I was busy running my businesses, and I was still in the San Fernando Valley. Dad and they were in Los Angeles, and even when Vonnie went off to college, I mean, there's still so many connections there. They had a much more vibrant relationship, a lot more physical encounters, and much more talking than I ever did.
But it's the same with me. My half-sister I have a half-sister, and she lives in Canada, and Cindy's 14 years older than me. She's 14 years older than me. And when my little sister, I'm 14 years older than my little sister. So Cindy's 28 years older than my sister. When she got married here in Nicaragua, I mean, Cindy came from North Bay with her daughters. I mean, and probably hadn't seen Cindy in like 10, 11 years or talked to her. But when I saw her, it's like, hey, we had such a blast. They're making such a big deal out of you weren't there with that person every day. It doesn't really matter. You're still family.
Yeah. Well, it's like Uncle Fred and Uncle Mike before he died. I saw them when I was a kid, but I would never say they're distant family. I don't know them, or they're, I haven't seen them in a long time, so they're not really family. I mean, we talk on the phone, but they're family, they're uncles. They don't suddenly they're not non-existent because you haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
I'm surprised your father, I can imagine your father's emotional shock at all of this. So, I mean, people don't understand how powerful stress is.
Religiously, we spent every single weekend for 2 years with my grandmother, including Megan. It was me, Megan, and my father every weekend, religiously, when my grandmother was in a home and dealing with dementia eventually.
Let's qualify during that time, because I wasn't there, and I was also in a wheelchair. I was on the phone with Grandma Markle every day. I was calling, making sure she's okay, listening to her stories. So I wasn't disconnected from her just because I wasn't there. And you were there, and you know very well that Megan wasn't paying for that nursing home. Megan didn't take care of Grandma. Trevor was there too. Dad was paying for that very expensive nursing home, not Megan.
He was. Yes, he was. I was there witnessing him handing the checks every month.
It's incredible. This is just like the Karl Larsen. I'm sorry, but this is really.
Welcome to the Karl Larsen Show.
This is like insane. This is
Oh,
insanity.
Tom, from the Little Red Schoolhouse all the way up to the last day at Northwestern, who paid for Megan's education?
I did. Oh
Who
wait, no, Carl did.
No, but seriously, answer that question, because I know it was
Dad paid for everything, every single thing, everything.
and other family members. There was PR out there saying, oh, and that she went to college and other family members chipped in. Nobody chipped in.
No.
Dad paid for everything.
Yes, Vonnie, we know this. We know this.
You know what? Actually, today I did a video. It's going to come up soon. I was reading Meghan Markle's Wikipedia, and they say that when they say about Doria, that she and your father paid for everything, shared every expenses for Meghan up to the age of 9 until she went. But it's that there on the Wikipedia page. I actually was reading it straight from the Wikipedia page. So, and I'm saying that's bullshit because I said that in that thing. That's absolute BS. That was Mr. Markle shelling all the funds for that. Doria maybe was around, but she wasn't shelling any money for that.
Yeah, she didn't have a job to afford a school that cost $150,000.
No, but the Wikipedia says that the reason why she left Meghan with your father at age 9 is because she went to pursue her career. I don't know which and I mean, I don't know if she was the Queen of Nigeria, because I know your sister now claims to be 43% Nigerian. So maybe Doria went back to her kingdom in Nigeria,
Oh, wow. That's right. Nigerian. I heard that too.
Yeah, you heard that. Did you hear that? I wonder if she's gonna celebrate Nigeria Independence Day.
And it's like people have asked me. They said, "Well, why, don't you talk about when Doria wasn't around?" Because even when I was living below at Vista Del Mar, and Meg was in school all day, Dad was working, I was working, and even Tom. When we didn't see Doria, we didn't ask because we had our own busy lives. And a lot of people can't understand that. But if you live in Los Angeles, your life moves fast. You're very centrally focused. Unless there's some reason or something happens, sometimes you don't think of things like that because you're so busy with life, with activities, with your own stuff, and there's no need to ask or bring it up. I know that sounds really weird, and I don't think we were
life.
Yeah, it's life.
But that's everywhere. That's everywhere. That's pretty much everywhere, except in certain cultures. Here in Latin America, I'm sure you see this in Mexico, Tom. Usually, you leave the home when you marry, and sometimes you don't because it's for economic reasons. There's not a lot of jobs out there. So people live in the same household because it's hard to buy a house. But it's for economic reasons. And you'll see a lot of people living in the same household. I'm sure you see that there.
The family culture here is incredible. I mean, the family unity comes first here. Family's first here, and that's the way it should be everywhere.
I am just blown away because even if you're not Latin, you look after your parents the best way you can at a certain point, the way they looked after you when you were growing up, when you were a child. And from what I understand, your father was it gave you the best he could with what he had. And he seems like such a lovely man, such a kind-hearted big guy kind of thing. Every time I hear him speak, he's such a big teddy bear for reals, like you just want to reach out into the TV or laptop and hug him. And I can see his pain. I could see some, I don't know if your sister told you, but I was trolled online very early on, just like you were, but I didn't back down. I said something is iffy, and I always stuck up for Samantha and you. I've been that letter that you wrote, I've done quite a few videos about it, and I said this man was right. Why are you guys trashing him?
Oh, yeah. What's funny, Tom, is that there were trolls and people online going, "Well, Tom and Samantha are just jealous because Megan got to go to college and Tom paid for expensive schools, but not for Samantha and for Tom." Well, first of all, we went to amazing public schools, and had we wanted to go to college, Dad would have found a way to pay for it. But at that time in our lives, I had my fall. I was dealing with disability and paralysis. Tom didn't want to. He was running a business. So there was no jealousy about college. And my dad was making really good money even when we were young. That was commensurate with the cost of living. In other words, when we lived in Woodland Hills, I thought we were spoiled. If we wanted 20 for movies, he'd throw a 50 at us. We had 99% of what we wanted and 100% of what we needed. So for anyone to say they were just jealous is total bullshit.
Yeah,
They,
I mean,
you know,
Megan never wanted or paid for anything.
yeah.
Ever.
You know, I mean, I love my
And
father. My father passed away in 2008 suddenly. I had a great relationship with my father. I got to tell you, this is breaking news here, guys, too. The day my father died, him and I had a fight. I was in Norway, and he was driving from Calgary to Ontario to see my half sister, and we had a fight. So when my father died, we have fought, but I still managed to talk to him when he got, this is way before, you know, cell phones and stuff. But I remember I phoned my sister's house and I said, you know, my dad there, he just got here. And I said, Dad, you know, we shouldn't have fought, you know, I'm sorry. It was something over stupid because we both lifted weights and stuff like that, you know. So, and then, so, but, you know, in like 20 minutes later, he had a sudden heart attack and he died immediately. But, you know, I don't understand. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't been able to mend that with my father. And the fight was over something stupid, you know, and I don't understand why your sister has done this to all of you, because it's not only your father, it's to all of you. I've seen this. I've told you this, Sam. I've seen what's been done to you guys, and you've had no guidance. You've been you've been handed something you never wanted in a global stage while you've been trashed. And you know, it's like when you're drowning and you're trying to stay afloat, kind
Well,
of.
here's what I think. I've been really forthcoming about this. Like even our Uncle Mike, who retired from the United States Embassy, who and you know, and our father, who's won 3 Emmy awards. You would think that you would want them as arm decorations and you'd want to show them off. Nobody got an invite, and I think that was because if we all showed up at the reception, you know, you drink champagne, you're at a reception, and stories start coming out that would be inconsistent with what PR made it seem like she reportedly told the royals. She didn't, you know, pay for her own education. She didn't work for the embassy. All of that would come out if Uncle Mike would have started talking. So I think the goal was to keep everybody away and then nobody could talk, because there's no excuse for keeping a really normal family away from a wedding like that. We're not heathens. We wouldn't have been embarrassing. We all have perfect table manners. We all have been in 5-star restaurants and had celebrity friends of our own. So the bottom line is, you know, we've all lived pretty normal, eclectic lives and been exposed to a lot of culture. And if anything, I think it would have been a good experience had we all been there for everyone involved. But it's her loss, and she made a choice that had cascading consequences. What can you say?
I don't know if you saw what your brother did just.
What did you do, Tom? Did you
He
purposely?
wrote Karl loves Meg and a banana.
Oh, that's hysterical.
That's too funny. That's too
what
funny.
a match made in heaven.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. But anyways, I'll let you guys go. But tomorrow we'll do the live, so you can be more prepared, whatever issues you may want to write down.
Yeah.
But we will clarify this even more, because Andy from Popcorn Palace will be here to also tell you and expose a lot of the things he said to him.
Yeah.
You know, so you will be able to see that as well, because I think it's time that to clarify things a little bit, to put perspective into the situation.
Buenos noches de la tarde.
Buenas tardes, Samantha. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Well, goodbye, Tom. Adios, Tom. Los veo mañana. I'll see you tomorrow, guys.
All right. Okay. Have a great day. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.